Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. I am here with my friends. Look, Matt Matera. He's got the Celsius. What flavor is that, Matt?
That is kiwi.
Sparkling kiwi flavor. Mm-hmm. Wow. How many flavors have you tried now, Matt?
Just two, the orange and the kiwi. And that's because, so today I literally went from Bucs practice to the gas station that's near my apartment, going to pick up some more Celsius. And there was 3 rows for the Celsius cans. They were all sold out. I got the last 2 cans in the gas station.
You heard it here, folks. They're flying off the shelves.
They are.
Can.
I would have taken a picture, but I left my phone in my car. I was like, damn. Like the one time I don't bring my phone with me. It was unbelievable. I was so pumped.
That's great. No, you advertise on the Pewter Report podcast, your product's going to start flying off the shelves in Tampa. It's reality of the situation. We have literal visual proof of that. So we are excited about today's show. Today on the show, we are going to be trying some totally new things on the Pewter Report podcast on the live show. So if you are listening to us in your car after we've recorded this, Godspeed. We are going to try to keep you as informed as we possibly can, but we are going to be using some visual elements in today's show, and they'll just be helpful. It's not like you couldn't listen to this, so keep listening by all means. We're going to be clear in what we're talking about, but we are going to use some visual elements in the show. We're going to show some stats. We're going to show a Pro Bowl ballot and screen share a little bit, and the 3 of us are going to go through and kind of vote on Pro Bowl ballot. And what that process is going to kind of, so we'll debate a little bit about some of the Pro Bowl stuff. We'll talk about mainly focus on which Bucs in each position group might make the Pro Bowl and what kind of a chance they have. And then we'll cast our vote collectively. Obviously, with the 3 of us, one of us will be tiebreakers for certain things. So it's going to be a lot of fun on the show today. And it's all brought to you by our friends over at Celsius. We're pumped. We got a lot to talk about today, and this Pro Bowl ballot is going to be something we've never tried on the show before. Screen sharing a little bit, doing some fun stuff like that, and so I am pumped for it. But before we get to that, folks, just want to let you know we've already talked up Celsius a little bit, but I mean, really, especially this time of year, it's important you stay active and energized all day with Celsius by your side. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy. We're different from other energy drinks because we focus on movement. When combined with exercise, our formula is clinically proven to boost your metabolism and help you burn body fat. Whether you need an extra boost at the gym or a delicious pick-me-up to help you hustle through your workday, Celsius is here to help you stay active and focused on your goals. Made with only the best ingredients, Celsius has no artificial preservatives, no flavors, no aspartame, or no high fructose corn syrup, and it's very low in sodium. So make sure you head out, as Matt did, pick up your Celsius containers today. I know, Taylor, you and I have some coming, and I'm pumped about that. Gonna try some new flavors that I haven't experienced yet before. And Scott's talking up basically. Scott has like every flavor now, and he's loving like every one. He pulled out like 15 flavors on the last show, and he's just like, look, this one, I tried this one.
I feel like he has a vault of Celsius like somewhere in his house where it's like, all right, what am I going to go with today? And like,
yeah, he has like a Celsius fridge or something like in his, I think in his basement or something. But yeah, no, it's fun. So we're excited about that. We're excited about them. We're also excited about today's show because, like I said, we've got some things going on today's show that you haven't seen us do before if we're going live, and we'll show you a couple of those now. So we're going to pull up the Pro Bowl ballot, and we're going to kind of refer to this Pro Bowl ballot throughout the show. So if you're watching live, you're going to be checking us out as we kind of vote through this Pro Bowl ballot and decide, okay, what Bucs are going to be worthy of kind of consideration for each of these spots. And we'll pull up some stats too to show you all what that looks like. But it's going to be a fun time in the show. Hopefully we have some people from other fan bases coming in. They're like, oh, I want to see if these guys vote for guys from my team or whatever. So, maybe we will. We'll see. The quarterback position, gentlemen. We have, quarterbacks this year. This is getting pretty tricky for evaluating quarterbacks. Obviously, we're looking at it from a Bucs lens, even though we're going to pick, the league right now. We're going to look at it from a Bucs lens too and see kind of where Tom Brady stacks up with these other quarterbacks. So before we even get into like the voting process per se, we're going to pull up some stats here and take a look I mean, right now, if you look, this is sorted by passing yards. If you look now just by passing yards, Tom Brady's 4th in the NFL in passing yards. And I don't think that traditional statistics are a great way to evaluate which quarterbacks should or shouldn't make the Pro Bowl, or, should or even should be considered the best in the league. Y'all can sound off on that how you feel. But, to me, I think there's better statistics, and really for quarterbacks, no replacement for watching them and studying them. But interested to see where he stacks up still in that regard. I mean, still doing, pretty well across the board, even his yards per attempt up to 7.1 yards per attempt. And it seems like Tom Brady's kind of holding par a little bit behind some of these others in regular completion percentage, not adjusted completion percentage, which is what you should be using if you're evaluating these things. But I don't know, guys. I think that if you're voting for the Pro Bowl right now, Matt, we'll start with you. If you're locking in a couple quarterbacks for the Pro Bowl right now, is Tom Brady one of your locks, or is he kind of in the next wave, or, are you just going all out right away with all 6 of your votes are going to be locks?
I would say, as far as the NFC vote, Brady has to be at least in the top 3. I think the top 2 you're actually going to see playing tonight on Thursday Night Football. I mean, Russell Wilson all season has been an MVP candidate, and Kyler Murray, especially over the last couple of weeks, he's an electrifying guy to watch. I know from a fantasy football perspective, he is crushing it. And a big thing with the Pro Bowl itself is, yes, on the field stats matters, but with a big chunk of getting to the Pro Bowl being the fan vote, they're going to vote for, the exciting player, the household name. You think people in Oklahoma right now, big Sooners fans, they're going to be voting for Kyler Murray. It doesn't matter if they're not a Arizona Cardinal fan. So when you factor that into it, because it's more than just whether you like it or not, it's more than just what you see on the field. It's about household names, and that hurts some people and it helps some people. And because of that, Brady's going to get the votes, because Brady he transcends football. He's a captivating celebrity figure. So he's going to get the votes for that. But I would put him 3rd behind Wilson and Kyler Murray. And maybe, depending on who wins tonight, you could flip-flop the 2 of them.
Okay. So one thing to note, even though you're right that it is AFC, NFC, if there were to be a game, there isn't a game. And so they may, I don't know how they're going to pick it. I tried to look it up, but we are just voting for 6. We can vote for all 6 from the NFC.
Doesn't matter.
That's how the ballot works. Yeah. It's super weird. There's a million things with the ballot process and the voting process for fans that are incredibly stupid. And we'll get to all those as we go through the show, because the system is unbelievably bad. But here we are doing it. So I don't know, maybe the joke's on us, but Taylor, with that in mind, are you willing to say, yes, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray should be locked in votes ahead of Tom Brady for the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, and I think I could probably put Aaron Rodgers above him too. I mean, if we're looking at the 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL and you're just voting for them regardless of conference, I think Tom Brady's in that top 6. But when you just look across the league, I think right now, I mean, if you want to talk about this Pro Bowl, MVP, whatever, I think you've got to look at Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, and then you've got Tom Brady kind of down there with Josh Allen, who even Josh Allen has the edge in passing yards. They have similar stats as far as touchdowns, as far as rating. So I would not.
So y'all think Kyler Murray has been better at quarterback this year than Tom Brady?
Do I think he's been better at quarterback, or do I not think he's been better?
No, do you all think that? Do you both think that Kyler Murray's been better and more deserving of a Pro Bowl vote than Kyler Murray this year?
I think
there's different players. It's,
it's close.
Like, but what Kyler Murray is asked to do is so different than what Tom Brady is asked to do.
True. Yeah, and one is asked to do hard stuff. The other, just kidding. Yeah. I mean, Kyler's obviously a better athlete. I mean, that goes without saying. He's a great, better runner, and that's a dimension that has to be considered for sure. I do think passing wise, Kyler Murray is asked to do mostly very simple things in that offense. And when he's asked to do tougher things and tougher throws down the field, he tends to be kind of all over the place. Now, Brady's had some, the last 2 games haven't been great for him in terms of downfield throwing either, but the larger sample size, I think Brady's been more impressive as a passer than Kyler Murray, certainly more consistent this season. Too. But Murray does have highlight reel plays on his side, so he is worth considering. But either way,
he have 8 rushing touchdowns. Is he still leading the league in rushing yards?
It might be more than that.
I mean, it's insane.
And
right, he's like fourth in the league in rushing.
So it's like, yeah, he doesn't stack up at the top of the league with passing yards. He doesn't stack up at the top of the league with passing touchdowns. He's got, I think, 7 or 8 interceptions. But when you look and he's averaging 60, 70, 80 rushing yards a game, he's averaging a rushing touchdown a game. He had 2 in his last game. What he brings from that dimension is just so different. It's why Lamar Jackson, was so dangerous last year. Granted, he threw 35 touchdowns and led the league in passing touchdowns, but it's just such a different dimension.
And that's what makes Pro Bowl voting so weird in general compared to other sports. If you look at the All-Star game for basketball and baseball, like baseball, okay, if the guy has good stats hitting, he's going to be in because you just have to quantify what they do essentially as a hitter. It's why Mike Trout wins the MVP all the time, even though he's on a team that doesn't make the playoffs. But football is so complex that you could be a really good player and you're doing what your team is asking you to do, but it doesn't show up necessarily on the stat sheet. Look at the Bucs-Packers game earlier in the season. The Bucs dominated the Packers, and Tom Brady, I don't even think threw for 200 yards. But the team played well, but statistically, for like Pro Bowl considerations, it wouldn't look as a good game for Tom Brady. But when you actually see what happened in the game, that's where it could help your arguing point, but not necessarily with voters.
So we agree, Russell Wilson, you guys both voting for Kyler Murray, so he's in regardless of my opinion here. Patrick Mahomes got to be in, right? Lock.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers, we all agree, lock, right?
Yeah, lock.
Mm-hmm.
So if those 4 locks, Josh Allen, we got 2 spots, and we've got Josh Allen, Tom Brady. Deshaun Watson.
Is another guy that
Roethlisberger. Drew Brees has played really well lately.
The Big Ben one is very interesting because, he's on an undefeated team. How do you not consider that guy for the Pro Bowl?
You're right. To me, and I'll get voted out. I'll get voted out of Pittsburgh. I'm leaving anyway. So, but
already on your way.
Right. I'm saying this because I know I'm leaving. Peace. Ben Roethlisberger shouldn't be a Pro Bowler this year. Just look, he's not been better. You can't not have Josh Allen on the Pro Bowl ballot, and I don't think you can. I don't know how you could not have Tom Brady on it. That's where it comes down to me for Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray, and I would probably lean Deshaun Watson. But I respect. Kyler Murray's had a great year, and I think he definitely deserves to be in consideration for this award too. But I would go Josh Allen and Tom Brady here with lots of respect to Deshaun Watson, who I said I would have on my personal ballot, and lots of respect to the season that Breeze ended up putting together, although I think it's mostly simple stuff. He's doing it at the highest level you can do it. And Ben, I think it kind of falls in that Breeze category to me. It's like it's not a super complex offense that asks him to do a lot of difficult things down the field or make a lot of tough throws or hold the ball very long or create. The offense is really helping him, boosting him. I feel that way about Breeze and Ben at this point. And that's not to diminish them. I'm just saying if we're picking the 6 best, those things got to be criteria, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get completely off subject here, but John, you could potentially have a reverse Trevor Sikkema situation here because Trevor left Tampa and now the Bucs are really good. The Steelers are undefeated right now. And if you leave Pittsburgh and the Steelers start struggling a little bit, we could be on something.
What if they then start losing? What if they go what if they're undefeated and then I leave and then they start losing?
Yeah, it's the reverse Trevor Sikkema.
What if they start losing and Tampa starts losing? You would have 2 cities that want your neck.
Oh no. That's true. And I would almost have to come back. Wow, this is really intense. I'm not sure how
moving to California.
That's basically trying to go or New Orleans to get the Saints to lose. I don't know. No, I think that, and fans, you can sound off too in the comments and who you think for quarterback should make it. And if you think Brady's deserving, I don't think it's a lock right now for Brady. I know I wrote in an article this past week, I called him a lock and I probably should have used a different term. I think it's a lock that he'll get the vote, the fan vote side of it, because all of New England, all of Boston, they're all going to vote for him. Those people have covered and followed Tom Brady as a Buccaneer, as closely as they do their own team. It's crazy. I think half our readership's from Boston. They just, the Patriots fans love it.
Brady.
Right. So he'll get the fan vote. And I just think coaches are going to know how difficult it is to make that switch after 20 years and see him playing at a high level, and he'll get that vote. So I think he's a lock to get in. I think it's a conversation about whether it's deserving, not because he hasn't been great. I think he's been great, but the reality is we probably got about 8 quarterbacks playing at a great level this year. And, he's probably not one of the top 2 or 3 maybe, but probably right outside that. So I'd vote him in, but I think it's a conversation. Let's put it that way. We got to move on. Running back position. This is the one fans have really been waiting for. They're waiting to see this running back position. And what I know, some of y'all think that I'm going to be a hater with Ronald Jones, but I'm going to step aside for a second, and I'm going to say, gentlemen, the running back vote is here. I'm going to show you the stats. Taylor, we're going to start with you this time. You're going to tell me just straight up, do you think that Ronald Jones should be in the Pro Bowl? Because he is the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL, obviously boosted significantly by this past week and 192-yard performance. I don't know that it's a mark of consistency, but his numbers are fine on the ground. His numbers in the passing game are ridiculously low, and that affects his total yards per game output. And you can see where he is all the way to the right there, and compared to everyone else, pretty low mark. But where do we fall on the Ronald Jones discussion for the Pro Bowl right now? Taylor, go ahead and sound off on this issue.
And how many total do we get? We get 6 votes for running backs again?
We get 6 votes for running back, and I'm going to assume that everybody's voting for Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry because it's the 2-man race for the league for the rushing title. And you can say what you want about it and pick them apart individually if you want, but if you're going to win the rushing title, you should probably be a Pro Bowler.
I think Derrick Henry are both locks. I mean, easiest ballot you'll fill out. Mm-hmm. I think Alvin Kamara, what he's done in the pass game is a lock.
Agreed.
If Ronald Jones makes the Pro Bowl, it's going to be in that 6th spot. What James Robinson has done in Jacksonville is awesome.
Wow, we've got a James Robinson.
Well,
I agree. He's super excited.
Because 1/3 of the fan vote, or 1/3 of the vote is deducted by fans. People love Jacksonville is a hard team to hate, just like the Bucs were for a long time. They're the lovable losers. It's hard to love a team, or it's hard to hate a team that's never really a threat. And when you get a guy like him that's an undrafted free agent, and he was Illinois State. Was he late round or was he undrafted, John? You'd know better than I would.
Who was that? James Robinson?
James Robinson.
I think he was late round.
Yeah, late round. So, I mean, I think that's a lot of fun. Kareem Hunt, he's had some injuries, but he's played phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Kenyon Drake is going to struggle now that he's missed a couple weeks and Chase Edmonds kind of had to step in. But I think that if Ronald Jones is going to make it, and I said the other day, it's not that Ronald Jones hasn't been good. He's also had turnovers, and it's hard when you've seen his own coaching staff put him on the bench multiple times this year because of fumbles, because of missing pass protections. And I think 14% of his yards came on that 98-yard run. I did the math the other day. It's 14.6% of his yards came on 0.7% of his carries. So,
yeah.
I know, obviously, I hate to make that argument that, if you take out this big play, then he's here because the big play happened. But it's like with what was it, CJ2K a few years ago? It's if you take out those 80-yard runs, well, he had one every week. But this isn't the case with Ronald Jones. It's not like he's busting off 20 and 30-yard runs every week. So I think if he does get to the Pro Bowl, he'll have to have a really strong second half, and he'll sneak in that 5 or 6 spot. Josh Jacobs, again, another phenomenal running back, had a great rookie year, but.
Yeah, Ty says James Robinson was undrafted, so he was undrafted. Okay. Thank you, Ty. All right, Matt. Your thoughts here. I mean, is this fair to say that Ronald, I know it's crazy because right now people look and they see him being 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards, but the reality is that in today's NFL, it's about the passing game. And if you're not doing anything in the passing game, and if almost all the only reason he's up here is because of one carry, it's kind of, I don't know.
I know that's the tricky situation because if you just watched highlights of Ronald Jones strictly just running the ball and nothing in the passing game, if you took the passing game out of it, he's clearly a Pro Bowler. Or at least I would think so. And you made some arguments, both of you made some arguments for against his 98-yard run. But I would say, how many 98-yard runs do we see in football?
Yeah.
We really only see it with Derrick Henry.
An awesome run.
And I think that's sometimes a highlight reel play is what helps get someone into the Pro Bowl in a situation like this. I also feel that if you're not going to go with Ronald Jones, who's going to be
that's the question,
5th or 6th guy to get in? If you look a little further on the list, he's missed some games, but Aaron Jones, when he's in the game for the Green Bay Packers, he's a great running back, and he's another guy that's gotten a little more name recognition over the past couple of years. I think a big part because of fantasy football, because people realized how good he's been if he's been on your team. He's a guy that will get in. Kamara will get in again because of name recognition, and when he's playing and what he does in the pass game, he's a lock.
Clearly.
But yeah, I guess that'd be my main argument is who do you put in instead of Rojo?
And that's where the conversation is difficult right now. I think if we have this conversation in a month, we'll be saying, I don't think Rojo can be in it. Not disrespect to him, but the reality is this is a season that Christian McCaffrey's barely played. Nick Chubb barely played, and he's still on this list for still 461 yards because he's a beast. So those guys,
Kareem Hunt too. That'll hurt Kareem Hunt.
100%.
That come in and take his snaps.
Right, and Kareem Hunt is another one. I think you'll see him fade. I mean, he's up there right now, 633 yards. He's sixth in the NFL right now in rushing, but you're going to see that fade. And guys like Zeke Elliott have not had a strong season. Todd Gurley could get in on name recognition and touchdowns because he gets a lot of touchdowns, but Todd Gurley's not Todd Gurley. I mean, he gets what's blocked for him to get.
Do you think Josh Jacobs is a lock?
He probably will get in, but again, it's like
what at that point we have 4 locks right now.
Yeah. So
Mara Cook, Henry Jacobs.
Right. And I don't think that this landscape is going to look the same in a month. Like, I just don't think so. I mean, Zeke Elliott's had a bad year so far, but again, name recognition, he's still at 572 yards. If he gets close to 1,000, he's going to get voted in. And so I think it'll look a lot different. If we have to vote right now, though, I mean, I think the passing game matters a ton. I probably wouldn't give Rojo my vote in a vacuum, but right now, because so few of these guys, I mean, Aaron Jones has missed time, Christian McCaffrey's missed time, Nick Chubb's missed time. There's been other guys I can't even think of right now that are there. Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's kind of been a depleted group this season. We have not seen the typical production from the running back room across the NFL that we typically see. So because of that, I'd say right now we're doing this battle right now, and I think we got to put Rojo in there, right?
I agree. I think he's got to be in. I think you're talking about we're taking 6. He's one of those 6, probably 5 or 6, but he's one of those 6.
Right. We could have different answers in a month, but now is now. We got to roll with it. Wide receiver position. Okay, this is one we can almost skip over. How surprised would you have been if I would have told you we were doing this exercise and you at the beginning of the year, and then we would be skipping over wide receiver for the Bucs?
Right? That's insane. It's absolutely
they have 3
insane.
Pro Bowl receivers, but none of them are Pro Bowlers this year because the production just isn't there and the numbers just aren't there. And so
it sucks too, because if Chris Godwin was healthy, I think he would be a shoo-in. Just like his production when he's playing is, even with the broken finger,
I just think that his touchdowns wouldn't be high. He would be the Bucs volume receiver, but like Tom Brady has shown, like, who does he throw to on the goal line? Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, every time. Those are like his 3 targets that he targets around the goal line. So I think that it wouldn't be that crazy to think that Godwin could have 500-600 yards at this point. Mm-hmm. But like, would he have more than 2 touchdowns? Right.
I mean, that we're at the situation with Godwin, like you said, where, his numbers, because he's played only half the games this year, and he hasn't been healthy for all of them, like, his numbers probably aren't going to get there. And, Mike Evans has played, but not been fully healthy. And again, his touchdowns, his name recognition, he's probably got a better chance. It was 514 yards. The thing that can happen with Mike Evans, guys, is if you look at his games across the years, I'm not saying Mike Evans is going to make the Pro Bowl this year. I'm not saying Mike Evans is even going to get to that 7th 1,000-yard season in a row. But what Mike Evans has typically done over the years, he's had like 2 or 3 games every season where he's like up over 150 yards in a game, and he just goes off,
out of his mind.
Crazy. Right.
Against the Giants last year, I think 2 weeks later he did it against the Panthers. It was
right. It's like that kind of output for Mike Evans a lot of the time. And so this is a different year, and it's a different, just, everything's different a little bit, and they've changed some of the things, and there's other weapons. And Tom Brady's going to share the ball more. And so there's other elements to consider. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying that we could, I could see him popping off for, they're going to be throwing all the time against the Chiefs. I could see him popping off for close to 200 against the Chiefs, because they got to it's going to be a shootout type of game. I don't think it's going to happen against the Rams, because I think that game's going to be more of a defensive struggle. But I think the Chiefs game is going to be kind of like a no holds barred shootout type of game. And I could see him popping off for, close to, and then all of a sudden we're in a conversation about him maybe for the Pro Bowl, depending on what other people are doing.
Especially just because of those touchdown numbers. He has so many, but none come outside of the 10. He's had 1 outside of the 10-yard line of his 8. So like, it's if he can pick up the yardage total and average 100 yards for 3 or 4 games over that span, then all of a sudden I think he's seriously in the conversation.
Right. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We'll move on to tight ends here. Tight ends is, this, if we look at statistics for tight ends right now, in a nutshell, you'd say, all right, like no way a tight end makes it. Like it's, for the Bucs, it's not going to happen. But look at the stats right now for tight ends in the NFL. I mean, Gronkowski's like right down here at 7th, and he's barely behind everybody else. He's 100 yards behind second place. And Kittle's not playing.
We all predicted.
John, you tweeted something recently, and I could not agree with it more. It was like, you look at the tight ends in the NFL this season, and it's Travis Kelce at the top, and then just nothing else after that. Just
Zach Ertz is on the IR and was bad when he was playing, and that's what is going on. George Kittle's on the IR, and he's still, right there in receiving yards, 2nd in the league.
Right. It's just, I don't know that where you see, Darren Waller, the way his production's gone this season, I just don't know that you're going to see Darren Waller get a ton of, production throughout the rest of the year. And none of these other guys are that great of players. Hunter Henry's been they've been complaining all year that, why aren't we using this guy? You know what I mean? What's going on? And here he is. He's 5th in the league this year. It's just, I just think Gronkowski, with the way they spread the ball around and the fact that he's probably going to get more touchdowns. Yeah. I really think the name recognition and all that.
Yeah, I think that's right there.
I mean, especially if they're taking 6 of these guys. We've got 6 votes right now, and obviously Kelsey's a lock, and Kittle's not going to play the rest of the year, so I don't know how he could be a lock.
He'll probably still make it. If we're being honest, Kittle's probably going to make it. He's going to play.
He's not even going to be in the top 10 when the season's over.
No, but
Jimmy Graham has a shot to make it. He's got 5 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews has dropped 4 touchdowns. He's had some real struggling games.
There's something going on with the Ravens as a whole offensively. And I don't know specifically what it is, but you look at the game against New England on Sunday night, something's really off with the Ravens. And
if you ask Lamar Jackson, they're just calling out Greg Roman's plays. Too easy.
I don't know. I think if we honestly look at this right now, I don't know how you couldn't vote for Gronk right now, just based on the way 4 touchdowns. Even the guys that are ahead of him in yards, they don't have the touchdowns he has. And we've seen some of the caliber of catches that he's made. I'd vote for Waller still. I think that I'd vote for some of these other guys. I'd vote for TJ Hawkinson to get into his first one. He's been good for Detroit. But again, we don't have production from anybody other than Travis Kelce, at a high level, at a Pro Bowl level. So
production is coming in 2 weeks. So that's
I would say too that Gronk is he's progressing too during the season. He started out slow and then really started to heat up. He's looking more and more like the Gronk of old as we go on. Clearly he's not prime Gronk, but the production that he's putting up is getting better week by week, which is a good sign.
He started so slow and then had 3 receptions in 3 games from week 6 to 9 or 6 to 8 or something. And that does a lot just for reminding people he's alive.
Mm-hmm. And even last game, all right, he only had 2 catches, but they were 2 very significant catches. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Touchdown and a great comeback catch for 44 yards. That was one of the biggest plays of the game. That's the only
old school Gronk right there. He makes the catch. He runs over a defender, carries 3 guys to the goal line.
The Saints game was so bad. The Saints game was so bad, guys, that it gave me pause with Gronk for a second. I was like, man, I thought he was coming on, but this is ridiculous. The Saints game was horrible. He had dropped a touchdown. He dropped a huge first down, and they were backed up in their own goal line. He didn't get open early in the game on the first third down of the game. I thought he should have got open, and he just looked sluggish out of the break. But then he's running by Jeremy Chin last week. People are like, this guy can't run.
Everyone was running by Jeremy Chin last week.
But people say he's better than Antoine Winfield.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Crazy. All right, offensive lineman. Let's move on. Let's cruise through offensive lineman. Takes on offensive lineman. Anybody want to throw out a take? I know where everybody's voting for Tristan Wirfs. If you're not voting for Tristan Wirfs, crazy. He clearly deserving. The way he's played this season, he might be the best right tackle in the NFL with Mitchell Schwartz hurt. And Ryan Ramczyk
Bakhtiari's got to be in there. Bakhtiari's got to be in there.
Yeah. Not played that much for as a side note. Teron Armstead, elite, got to be in there.
Kai Becton would probably be in there if he wasn't dealing with injuries.
I would love.
Yeah, he's played well.
Garrett Bowles, I think, has made an improvement this year.
Garrett Bowles,
he's really stepped up.
Yeah, the Jets won't have a lot of Pro Bowlers, so I'm hoping Becton can get in there.
I forgot about that. Lane, I think Big Lane's been battling through it, playing great through some pain. He deserves to be in there. On Wayne, who's played great, but he's also played guard, so I don't know if I could vote for him at tackle. Ramczyk's had a little bit of a down year. Mitchell Schwartz would be a lock, but he's hurt. You think Mark wants us to vote Donovan Smith in? What do y'all think?
Mark would load into the podcast right now. His ears are tingling that he hears his name.
Unbelievable. I think Laramie Tunsil's in there. You can make an argument for Trent Williams too, but I think Wirfs is definitely in there. So we'll move on and not belabor the point. The guard position, guys. I mean, here we're getting to the point, and let me check this because we just got the injury report, I believe.
Yeah.
But let me check this because I wonder what the status will be for Ali Marpet moving forward, because that's kind of going to be a strong indicator. Now, it says he was a full participant in today's practice.
Coach Arian said that as well.
They'll know more tomorrow with the fogginess and all that.
Right. Okay, so we're clearly moving significantly in the right direction with Ali Marpet. Let's say he plays this week and he's back, and he's back. I think he's a lock for the Pro Bowl, in my opinion.
Him and Levante David have been the number one guys of. They just need to play in prime time. More people need to see them, and they'll be a Pro Bowler. So I think this year with Ali, he'll get that. Especially, I mean, he'll probably at one point or another get matched up against Aaron Donald. So if he plays well against him, I think he's a lock. Right.
So just getting a couple of the comments. Somebody said Cam Brate could finish the year as top 10 in yards and touchdowns. Crazy how weak tight end is.
Yeah.
Maybe get a 6th or 7th for him in the offseason. It's not a bad call about the trade. I mean, I was thinking at the beginning of this year, Cam Brate would have no trade value at all in the offseason. And obviously he's not going to be back with the Bucs at his cost. And the guys are trying to return. I couldn't imagine him being back. He already took a pay cut. But yes, I mean, his pay goes up again for next year. So he'd have to take another cut. And I mean, I still think it's a long shot that they're able to move his contract. I think they're almost definitely going to have to release him. Their best chance was to trade him halfway through the year when somebody else could take on his deal and half of it and then cut him, as a rental and then cut him after the year. But I just don't think anybody's going to take his contract. But if he does somehow finish with good production for tight ends, his agent is going to be having a field day. There's no question about that. So that's an interesting thought. Some other people had some good thoughts on tackles. Braden Smith. I think we just got some fans from other teams in here, which is pretty cool. Braden Smith, the Colts fan. Yeah, Braden Smith has had a really good year for Indy. I don't know if he's a Pro Bowler, but we can only pick so many, and the reality is it's a good position. Taylor Decker, good call on that. He's had a great year. I love Taylor Decker coming out, so I'm happy about that.
For guards, I think you have to immediately put Quentin Nelson in. I think he's been as good as ever.
Yeah.
Joel Bitonio's probably up there with Cleveland.
Bitonio's played well. But I don't know. Seen the Pittsburgh game too, and Bitonio is getting his tail kicked. So, but we agree Kappa's not in, and we think Marpet is in, right? I mean, Kappa's played well, but I don't know. I wouldn't put him in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I really like the way Kappa's payed this year, man. He's made great. He's made such an improvement from what he did when he couldn't get on the field with what's his name? Oh God, who was it at right guard? Matt, help me out here.
Was it Beninock?
Beninock.
Yeah, Caleb Beninock.
Yeah, those are dark days, fellas. We don't need to talk about those days.
Hey, that's in the past now.
We're all moving forward.
So center position, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. A lot of people will put Ryan Jensen into the conversation. I like Ryan Jensen. I think he's a good player for sure. I'd love for this team to keep him long term. But the reality is that there are, I think there's enough plays where Ryan Jensen leaves something to be desired that I would say, okay, like you could vote somebody else. And I could see like in a normal year, when I'm thinking normal year, when like Jason Kelsey and Alex Mack are at their peak, you know what I mean? Like, but that's not the reality anymore. Like those guys are not the top centers in the league anymore. And we don't really know who the next wave of top centers is going to be. And so I'm not sure who we vote for in that scenario other than somebody like Jensen. I mean, Rodney Hudson's obviously a lock.
Yeah.
But I think Jensen should get in as well based on the fact that I'm not sure there's been enough better centers. And we're only voting for – I think we're voting for 6 at center too, but they'll only take 4, I think.
No love for AQ Shipley?
I love him, but he's got to play more than one game, I think, maybe.
I kid.
Corey Lindsey's been great for Green Bay. Outside of that and Jensen, I really struggle. I mean, watching O-line is hard. I can only notice there's only so many days in the week. John, I don't know how you do it, but
I'm not going to sit here and tell you like I've watched.
There's only a couple I can remember looking at a lot. And
right. Okay. Well, let's throw Jensen up there because I think he does deserve to be in based on criteria of who's available this season. Edge defenders, I honestly, in a vacuum, I'm just going to be straight up. I don't think Jason Pierre-Paul has played at a Pro Bowl level this season, but
he has the sacks.
He has the sacks and he has name recognition, but he also hasn't made a Pro Bowl since 2012, I think. So I don't know how it's going to pan out. Matt, what do you think?
Sorry, say that again. I was distracted by something.
No, it's good. I was saying Jason Pierre-Paul. I just don't know that he's played at a Pro Bowl level this season, and I know that the Pro Bowl should be a consideration for him based on his sack numbers, but I'm not sure that he's been better than 6 other defensive ends in the league right now this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of tough competition at edge rusher. It seems like every single year. I think what helps JPP, and I think he's got a shot to make it, especially if we're picking 6. I think for JPP, what helps is he's got the name recognition that we've talked about. He's got the fanfare. People love his press conferences when they go and play the Giants. We're getting a lot of feedback. When you go play,
is that your mic feeding back right now?
Is it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Might be.
Now I don't hear anything.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I am using a new mic though. Anyway, when now I don't hear anything, so I think we're good. When JPP is doing his Zoom press conference and he's like, I'm excited to play the Giants. I'm coming at their necks and stuff like that. People see that and they get excited about it. I would like to see his production come up a little bit more. I mean, I believe he has 7 or 7.5 sacks. Mm-hmm. He's having a solid year. He's been the best pass rusher for the Bucs. But you look at some of the other pass rushers with Burns and obviously Myles Garrett is like a clear lock.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big names. JPP is a big name as well. Right. I think he's got a chance. I think he's definitely got a decent shot.
Here's where the plot twist comes in, guys. Jason Pierre-Paul isn't even a defensive end on the Pro Bowl ballot.
Oh, yeah, they got him at outside linebacker.
Yeah, they've got him at outside linebackers, which obviously he plays from a 2-point stance. But the position we're taking here is that just make an edge defender spot because it doesn't make any sense to have Myles Garrett and Stephon Tuitt on the same ballot. They don't play the same position. So it's just ridiculous and it's outdated, and we got to do something about it moving forward. But we say that every year, and the Pro Bowl doesn't care about just doing one simple thing right.
Well, and I
so
like
here we are.
Solo tackles is there you're an edge defender, and solo tackles is their ranking system here for defensive ends. But I think Myles Garrett has to be a lock. I think, do they have TJ Watt as an outside linebacker, or they have?
He's an outside linebacker, yeah, and under these qualifications, which is right. But again, it's like just make an edge defender position and put guys like Stephon Tuitt and inside and interior defensive lineman, or even you could call him D tackles. He plays D tackle, so just call it that. But so we have nobody to really consider at this position group for the Bucs right now. I mean, Sue and Golston, good players, but I don't think we're exactly not going to make it. Taylor, mute your mic for a second. See what happens. But defensive tackle, if we're looking at the defensive tackle position, I think this is where you would love to. This is where Vita Vea would be sitting on this list, but he's not in here right now. And obviously, I mean, I don't. Could you vote for him, Matt? Could you vote for Vita Vea? Even because he didn't play enough games. He played 5 games. You can't vote for him. He was on that pace, but there's no way that he can be considered this year, even though it's a down year for the position, I think, production-wise.
There's absolutely no way you could vote for Vita Vea. As much as Bucs fans would love to see Vita Vea make the Pro Bowl. And, yeah, like you said, he was on his way to becoming a Pro Bowl player with the season that he's having. Defensive tackle is one of those positions too, where it's like, especially for someone like Vita Vea, you're doing things that your coaches are asking you to do that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet, but you're doing a good job at your position and doing it at an elite level. But the outside fan may not notice that. Right. Obviously, someone like Aaron Donald is a lock, but I'm curious to see how Ndamukong Suh does with the voting, because again, he's a big name. He's obviously not in his prime. His sack numbers are up from last season. I'm not saying he's going to get in as a Pro Bowl vote, but I would just very much would be interested to see what his numbers look like.
Right. No, I would love to. I think Vita Vea could have been one more that makes the list. We've already named a number of Bucs that could have made this thing. I mean, so far we've got Tom Brady, we've got Ronald Jones, and we're not locking them in. We're just saying that at this point, like they've played it at the level of a Pro Bowl level player based on their position group in the league right now. So we may not think about it about Ronald Jones in a vacuum, but if you look at the position group in the league, there's just not enough standout guys to say no to him this year. It's just a reality. There might be for Brady, but again, we're putting him in Brady in right now, and we think he'll get in. Ronald Jones, we're putting Rob Gronkowski in right now. We got to see what happens, but the tight end position outside of Kelsey is totally up in the air with George Kittle hurt and Darren Waller not really producing that much, and Mark Andrews having a terrible year. So that position totally up in the air right now, I think. So Gronk could get in. I mean, we're talking about Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen and Ali Marpet. It's crazy to me that we're talking about that many Bucs. We're not even talking about their wide receivers. Meanwhile, we've got probably 6 Pro Bowlers, and we're not even talking about the wide receivers who can play at a Pro Bowl level at any week. So, I mean, if this two group had been fully healthy and clicking early in the season, it's scary to think about where we'd be. But defensively, I think we can agree. The defensive line with Vea hurt, and Shaq Barrett not having great production this year. Jason Pierre-Paul's in the conversation. Wouldn't vote for him right now. Let's go to off-ball linebacker, Matt. And Taylor's having some technical difficulties. But let's go to off-ball linebacker and discuss this quickly. Levante David, we don't even have a conversation, right? If he doesn't get in this year, I'll literally storm the NFL offices.
Just get rid of the Pro Bowl then.
Just if get rid of it. That should probably have happened, but get rid of it. And I don't even think I won't even consider Levante David is the best linebacker in the NFL this season. He needs to be in the Pro Bowl.
Butts. I don't want to hear anything about Wagner. That ship has sailed. We've moved on from that.
They're not even on the same tier right now. Like they're just not. I love Bobby Wagner, but they're not right now. Devin White, that's the conversation.
Yes.
What do we do with Devin White? Bucs fans are going to maybe want him in because of the sack production. And honestly,
right. And he's up there in tackles too.
Right. He's got a big tackle numbers, which are a pointless stat without the context of the tape. But I'm not saying they're bad for Devin White. I'm just saying you need the context of the tape to be able to say yes or no to those. But the tackles, the sacks, the name recognition, and the pedigree,
overall aggressiveness too. Just like when you watch him play, he's the number one guy. You see him flying around the field. And another thing, again, outside of what's happening on the field, Devin White is a great promoter. He's got the Get Live 45. He's got the Get Live stables. He rides horses. People like that. People like that, and people will vote for that. I think it's a man. It's tough. It's these votes are.
But he's honestly maybe the worst linebacker in the NFL in pass coverage.
I was going to say the pass cover. It's almost a thing like Ronald Jones, where it's like Ronald Jones, great runner, struggles a lot in the passing game. Devin White does everything right as a linebacker, except he struggles in the passing game in coverage.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. It's hard for me to kind of remedy those two ends of his game. I don't think he's a Pro Bowler myself personally. I think that if you can go on this list and you can pick guys that are more deserving this year. I mean, frankly, even though I think he's lost a step, Bobby Wagner's more deserving. He's just a better, more consistent player right now. Obviously, Fred Warner. I mean, Roquan Smith has had an outstanding season, and he's really come on strong late in the season. Eric Kendricks is a beast and having a great year. I mentioned Fred Warner. He's a lock. I think Darius Leonard is probably a lock. Again, we're doing voting, and they may be breaking this up into AFC, NFC, and so maybe some of these guys in the AFC or some of these guys in the NFC they're pulling away at his votes. Give him a chance, and I think he has a great chance to get in with the fan vote. I'm just personally not sure. Demario Davis is another one, although he's in the outside linebacker group in Pro Bowl voting, which again, how is Demario Davis the same position group as TJ Watt and Jason Pierre-Paul? I don't know how we're supposed to vote for this. This is the league. This is the NFL. This isn't some podunk site that's trying to sort this out. No, this is the actual NFL that has put zero effort into their own all-star game. Just look at the way this thing's laid out. Can we just get a list where we can sort people by tackles? We can sort people by sacks, forced fumbles.
Right.
Can we not get that?
The receivers one was crazy too, that the big number that they showed was the receptions, and then the yards was the small one. I don't know. I'd rather see the yards if they're going to stick with this cockamamie system with stuff all over the place. I'd rather see the yards as the first number that pops out to you versus number of receptions. I mean, we can get back into the Michael Thomas discussion about receptions over production with how far down the field you get. But
for sure, right.
That's an argument for another day.
Last two we got to discuss. Cornerback position. I think Carlton Davis is in.
He has to be.
Yeah, the interception numbers are on his side too. He doesn't have like the big name recognition, and he plays in a small market.
Not yet.
So right, but so I think that you could maybe make an argument against him in that way. But with the interception numbers, I mean, four picks this season. He's made the splash plays. If he makes a few more of those, stays fresh in people's minds, he's probably going to get the fan vote. We're going to keep hyping him up on social. He's probably going to get the fan vote. You know, I mean, I think Jair Alexander and James Bradbury and Carlton Davis have been the best 3 corners in the league.
Yeah, and like Jalen Ramsey will get in because
he'll get in, and he's
Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
The biggest criteria for me when it comes to a corner, more than just stats itself, is how do you play when you're going up against the best receivers in football? I always go back to I love Darrelle Revis. I think he's the best corner of all time behind Deion Sanders. And, you know, there were seasons where literally week after week, Darrelle Revis would line up against, you know, Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith, Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco. And like every single week, he would completely stop them where they would have like 2 receptions for 15 yards and stuff like that.
Right.
And so with Carlton, he's played overall, I would say he's played pretty well against the top receivers in the game. I mean, week 1, he pretty much shut down Michael Thomas. And he's gone up against a lot of big name receivers this year and done pretty well. So I think Carlton Davis, and he's still ascending too. I don't even think he's reached his top level, but he's got to be in there this season.
Right. I agree completely. Let's move. We know strong safety is not happening. Let's wrap this thing up with free safety. Antoine Winfield, I think it's been a good year, but at the end of the day, the numbers matter. Let's just be honest. They not matter, and to a degree, they should matter to a degree. And Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, you know, I think those guys are going to be locks to make the game this year. And I think if you look around the league right now, Antoine Winfield's kind of on the cusp. This has not been a big production year for safeties. Marcus Williams has 2 picks now, but early in the season, he was having some struggles. Julian Blackmon has played really well as a rookie. And he's got 1 more interception than Winfield. And so he's played a lot less snaps and does a lot less. And he doesn't rush and as much as when they're starting to use him a little more around the box, but Winfield's worn a lot more hats. You know, Devin McCourty could easily get in based off name recognition and the fact that he's got 2 picks and he's played well also. Minka Fitzpatrick again also will probably get in for that. So I think Winfield's on the outside looking in right now. I think he's played great. I'm not sure I would say he's one of the, you know, maybe we're voting for 6 here too. We probably are, but only 4 usually make it. 2 free safeties, 2 strong, you know, at the free safety spot, only 4 usually make it. I guess they're having people vote for 6 this year. I don't know that I would put him in the top 4, but I think he's probably in the next 4 right after that. That's probably where I would put him in. And Luke, we got Colts fan Luke in here. Xavier Rhodes, top 3 quarterback this year. Let's go, baby. Bringing Xavier back. Roads are closed. I love it. I love the resurgence there. I don't know if I'd say he's top 3 this year, but he's having a great year, and he'll get considered for the Pro Bowl. Absolutely. Marlon Humphrey, good shout out. Love Marlon Humphrey. He will probably be in there as well this year. Playing another great season for him. Vita would have been and will be an All-Pro in the future. I agree. He would have been a Pro Bowler this year. I'm not sure about All-Pro. It's a lot tougher criteria. I don't know how that would work. Maybe 2nd or 3rd team. You know, they do the teams there. So yeah, and don't forget kicker. Ty says, and he's exactly right. We're not going to forget about kicker. We've got to close this thing out with kicker. Here's the reality of the kicker situation right now, Matt. Kicker, and I'll stop this screen share so we can close this out. But kicker is like one of those positions that you're like, if you see somebody having a season like Ryan Suckup where he's missed 2 field goals and he's missed 2 extra points, and 3 of those 4 kicks have been blocked, and he missed the field goal. He missed was long. I think it was like 50-some yarder, if I remember right. So he's really
yarder got blocked. That was the one that got blocked.
Was that the one that got?
So he missed in the it was a home game. It was I think the Chargers game he missed.
Was it a high 40s?
So something like that. I mean, it wasn't a chip shot.
Right. So he's been tremendous. He is not kicking, and he's completing 90.9% of his field goals this season. That's Pro Bowl, right? No,
that's great.
Because he is 13th in the NFL right now in field goal percentage. So I think Ryan Succop's been one of the best Bucs on the team, but I don't know that he's going to make the Pro Bowl because there's just other guys, kickers with bigger names. They're only taking 2 of them, I think, right?
Yeah, and Justin Tucker is probably an automatic
lock. You know what I mean? And you probably got somebody else kicking 100% this year. I don't even remember who was up ahead of him, but 13th, and you're making 91% of your field goals. Like, that's just nuts. That's crazy. It's just, it shows really what it proves, Matt, is that the kicker position is just completely mental. Like, you probably have dudes walking by you every day that could kick in the NFL, like physically.
It shows how valuable Ryan Suckup has been to this team. We've seen a number of times how poor kicking has hurt the Bucs, and this year it's been nothing but a strength, which makes it so interesting that it looks like Matt Gay is going to be kicking for the Rams on Monday night.
Just another one of the many footnotes to a game that has so many thrilling storylines in my mind. But yeah, Jacob, to continue my point that I was making, exactly right. I think because there's been no fans in the crowd, that's what's been the difference for kickers. They're just so much more comfortable because they don't feel the pressure of the moment. Yeah, it feels like a practice when they're kicking. And so I think the fact that so many kickers are having unbelievable years, unbelievable seasons, and there being no fans or very few fans in the stands, I just think that's a psychology experiment right there in and of itself, in my mind. That's all the proof you need. Now, Gostkowski's Ty T mentions him. He's the worst kicker in the league right now, but he is the name recognition, but he's the worst kicker in a year where every kicker is thriving. He is struggling like crazy.
Yeah,
he's ridiculous.
He's had a lot of bad moments this year, but he's got a couple Super Bowls.
That's right.
All right.
Got those on his side. So again, that'll be playing in his favor for sure. So we've kind of worked our way through the ballot. Shout out to Bradley Pinion for sure. But I don't think I'd put him in the Pro Bowl, but having a solid year once again. I don't even know how you determine long snappers for the Pro Bowl. You can't even vote for him, which long snapper hate.
It should be a package. Like if your punter get
your battery. Yeah. Your special teams battery.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. A little battery there. I like it.
There's still some hurricanes forming in the Gulf, folks, so don't wait to review your insurance policies. Call Briar Greaves Insurance, which is family-owned and has served the greater Tampa Bay area for 30 years. For your home and your auto, your boat, your life, commercial, and flood insurance needs, a lot of homeowner companies are canceling or not renewing policies, leaving Florida, or increasing premiums significantly. Call Briar Greaves. Scott did it, saved a bunch of money. He's pumped about it. He talks about it all the time. And speak directly to Briar or Sam for a personalized touch for information on the best rates. The folks at Briar Greaves Insurance are big fans of the Buccaneers and proud sponsors of the Pewter Report podcast on pewterreport.com. Visit Briar Greaves Insurance or call 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166 today. So, Matt, before I let you go on the show here today, and before we wrap it up, give me your prediction for the game for tomorrow night. Scott and I gave ours yesterday. I know we got our previews and predictions coming out tomorrow up on the site on Friday. Or we're posting those Saturday, probably. We'll probably post them Saturday
with the Monday night game.
But we'll have those coming up on the site. But give fans, you don't have to say your score, but give fans a little bit of an idea where you might be leaning for this matchup.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variables to look at for this game for both teams, really. The Rams had a great win over the Seahawks, but then they've looked really sluggish at times too. So you kind of got to wonder which Rams team is going to show up to this game. The big storyline around the Bucs is that they have not played well in primetime games. Obviously, we talked enough about the Saints game, and they did not play well in the Bears game. I want to see how this offense plays against the Rams defense because, and you guys have talked about it a lot too. The Bucs scored 46 points and they still did not even look as crisp as they possibly could in the red zone. You get another week with Antonio Brown understanding the offense. They're going to keep chugging away, running the ball, especially with what Ronald Jones just did last game. The key for me with the defense is, and again, the Saints game is just like an outlier. So I'm talking about every game besides the Saints. The Bucs defense gets off to a slow start, and other teams have taken advantage of putting up some points on the defense in the first half, but then they really clamp down in the second half. So I think the key for the Bucs, and specifically on defense, is going to be getting off to a hot start. And I think this team, I said last week they were going to be pissed because they got their butts kicked by the Saints, and then I said, and Levante David said they were going to be pissed playing against the Panthers, and but I think they're going to be just as pissed or have that chip on their shoulder because they have not played well in primetime. This is a huge moment to play against another good team with really big, playoff standings on the line here. So I think this is where you really see the pissed off Bucs that we've mentioned. So I'm leaning towards Tampa Bay right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up some good points, and I think everybody can listen back to Wednesday's episode of the podcast if they haven't heard it already. And Scott and I break everything down. And we went pretty in depth with this matchup. So I think that there's a lot to consider for sure. As we move forward, and that episode will probably help you as you're making your bets, hopefully over at MyBookie, and laying all that down for this week. Dragonlope, we appreciate and love the super chat.
My man.
Very much. He says pointless stream since we are Super Bowl bound. Wow. Good point, actually. Good point, actually. So none of the Bucs. I mean, there won't be a Pro Bowl game anyway.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Give me your best argument for Mike Edwards in the Pro Bowl when you get there. Hasn't messed up. Right? He's one catch.
He's a ball hawk.
I think maybe 2 catches for like 7 yards or something like that this season. I think he's missed one tackle. Not many.
He broke up that pass at the end of the second quarter that would have put the Panthers in field goal range. So
got 2 picks. I mean, look at the safeties in. I mean, if he gets 2 more picks this year, you're going to get some votes for him. I mean, he's got 4 picks. He'll be one of the league leading safeties in the league in picks, and he hasn't given up negative plays. So yeah, that's my best argument for him, Dragonlope. I think that's the best we can do. All right, folks, we appreciate y'all jumping in here with us on the show and kind of working with us as we figured out some things and even endured some unexpected technical difficulties there with Taylor's microphone. Sorry you couldn't join us for the end of the show, but we appreciate y'all and thank y'all for tuning in. And go over to YouTube, Pewter Report TV, subscribe, tell your friends and your families. We are very close to 2,000 subscribers and would love for y'all to help us push us over that mark so we can get working on 3,000. We'll be back Monday night after the game. We are going live. We are talking about this game. It is going to be awesome. And we're pumped to kind of break everything down. Those night shows have been a lot of fun. We've had great turnout in attendance. Y'all stay up late with us. And it's Thanksgiving week, man. You got to cut loose a little bit and let's go crazy.
That's right.
We're going to do a show that day. We'll do a show Tuesday as well. And we'll have one Wednesday for you and obviously off Thanksgiving. And so we will be coming to you live next week. It'll be 4 p.m. It'll be after the game on Monday, 4 p.m. on Tuesday, 4 p.m. on Wednesday. We'll be coming to you live and we'll have a lot of fun stuff to break down. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. Out.